Chapter 1935. Covering for Wang Ling had in fact been Wang Ming's task from the very beginning, and Wang Ling had been targeted. As an older brother, Wang Ming naturally had a certain level of vigilance, so the moment Tung Luken had found him, Wang Ming had almost immediately become suspicious. Although this elder Tung had concealed himself very well, and had left a few of the thousands of surveillance cameras for Wang Ling, Wang Ming didn't know if it was because of his brother Khan intuition, but he could still clearly sense Tung Luchen's special intentions. While writing the system according to Tung Luchen's instructions, Wang Ming split off another brainwave to communicate with Jia Yi next to him. The two of them had known each other for a while now, and it could be said that they had a tacit understanding of each other, and they immediately started contacting people to assist Wang Ling. At the same time, as one of Lotus Sun's good sisters, Jia Yi didn't forget to send Lotus Sun a copy of the message. Classmate Wang Ling is under suspicion, and that senior's background isn't ordinary. After receiving the message, Lotus Sun stared at the phone screen with a tight frown. What should we do? Hasn't he been fine all these years and never been exposed? Sun Yinger said in surprise. You can't avoid getting your shoes wet if you always walk by the river. Maybe it's because classmate Wang Ling has participated in too many competitions recently. Lotus Sun guessed. Wang Ling had already done his best to restrain himself in these competitions, big and small, and had basically erased his memory of everything that should have been erased, but the official competition records wouldn't disappear. No matter how little Wang Ling's contribution to the team was, his name was still on the official list in the academic administration system. Lotus Sun felt that it was perhaps that official record that had planted the seed of suspicion in Tung Luken. But there was no point in saying all this now. This was the so-called counter-soldiers with arms, water with an earthweir. Back then, she had made up her mind to run the Grey Sect. And very fortunately, Lotus Sun happened to see a familiar name among the 10 teams that had already entered the spirit world. Elsewhere, in the oasis of test field number 1 in the spirit world, Wang Ling could actually sense that Li Changjia had been playing dead all this time, which made it impossible for him to carry out his plan to shift the blame to Li Changjia. Zhang Linian's hint had been accepted very smoothly, and she had already organized a team to make spirit energy batteries out of cobblestones. So now he had to think of a way to help Li Changjia stand up. Zhang Linian was still busy when he suddenly saw a female high school student with ear-length hair, an oval face and unusually fair skin walk toward him. Wang Ling felt that this person looked a little familiar, but he couldn't put a name to it. Don't you recognize me, classmate Wang Ling? Wang Ling was very surprised. He hadn't expected this girl to actually communicate with him in fluent Mandarin. Seeing Wang Ling's bewildered expression, the girl didn't beat around the bush, and directly introduced herself. I am Six-Eyed Scarlet Rice. He's the one from Jiudao in high school, nicknamed Sparrow. Wang Ling was stunned. If Six-Eyed Crimson Rice hadn't introduced herself, Wang Ling wouldn't have recognized her at all. This change was too big, but it had only been a few months, right? The pockmarks on the sparrow's face were gone, and her figure was much more robust than before. Most importantly, she had taken off her glasses. Wang Ling really couldn't help it at all. His impression of Sparrow was actually still that of Jiudao in high school. In his memory, she was a computer expert, and very much admired Wang Ming's old V identity. Seeing the puzzled look on Wang Ling's face, Sparrow explained simply, Don't misunderstand, I'm still a student of Jiudao in high school. But this time, I'm representing Jiudao in high school. Outside help? Wang Ling suddenly opened his mouth, as reticent as ever. The main reason was that he felt it was a little impolite for the girl to say so much to him in a series of indifferent replies. You can think of it that way. Another reason is to gather some information. My school uniform is from Yamada no High School, which is currently the second-ranked high school on our Sun Island, Sparrow replied in a low voice. She then looked at Li Changjia, who was still lying on the side pretending to be dead. Making a V sign at Wang Ling, she then began to mouth at him. Old V and cult leader asked me to help you. Wang Ling easily read these words from the shape of Sparrow's mouth. Then he saw Sparrow take out a stack of golden needles from her pocket and start her performance. Hey, classmate Wang Ling, Li Changjia still hasn't woken up. Do you think there's a blood clot in his brain? I happen to have learned a bit of acupuncture. Do you want to give him a try? Hearing this, Li Changja's eyelids twitched visibly, but he still had no intention of waking up. After all, compared to losing face, it didn't matter if he suffered a few acupuncture needles. As long as he secretly used spirit energy to seal off his acupuncture points and block the golden needles, he wouldn't feel too much pain. But Li Changja had no idea that Sparrow was a ruthless person. First, she pretended to be very professional as she checked Li Changja's pulse, then abruptly screamed in surprise. "Oh my God, he's too badly injured." Sure enough, there's a blood clot in his brain. Not only is there a blood clot in his brain, it's spreading. I'm afraid that in a few hours, it'll spread to the lower half of his body. After saying this, Sparrow withdrew the golden needles on the side and sighed. In this situation, using golden needles is already useless. The only way to release the blood clot is to use a knife. Quack! Definitely a quack. Hearing this, Li Changja's heart crumbled. Even Wang Ling didn't know why Sparrow had so many tools on her. She was clearly a hacker, but in the end, she had a complete set of tools. He watched anxiously as Sparrow took out a kitchen knife, and was astonished to realize that this kitchen knife was actually intelligent. A keyboard actually appeared on the surface of the kitchen knife. After typing for a while, Sparrow wiped at her sweat. "Don't worry, classmate Wang Ling. I'm not a professional, but the program won't lie, and it'll be very accurate. It's just cutting off an inch or two, it's no problem at all." Wang Ling and Li Changja. "I've already programmed this smart kitchen knife. It will start on its own in 3 minutes, and when it's done, it'll directly lock up his HP. You don't have to worry about classmate Li bleeding. You just need to release the blood clot." At that moment, Sparrow covered her mouth and pretended to be in pain. "There's no other way. I hope classmate Li won't blame me after he wakes up. After all, this is all to save his life." It had to be said that Sparrow's acting was so realistic that even Wang Ling believed it. But at that moment, Li Changja actually still didn't show any signs of waking up. Wang Ling knew that Li Changja could most likely tell that Sparrow was trying to goad him into waking up, and he was betting that Sparrow's smart kitchen knife definitely wouldn't work. But what Wang Ling and Li Changja didn't expect was, just 3 minutes later, the kitchen knife actually flew up. Chapter 1936. The moment the kitchen knife flew up, Wang Ling's face was filled with astonishment. This smart black iron kitchen knife flew up in front of them, and as the blade swept past them, there was a crisp clang in their ears. Lying on the ground, Li Changja could even feel the faint sound of the knife cutting through his hair. In that instant, Li Changja felt the hair all over his body stand on end. He had never thought that what Sparrow had said would actually be true, that this kitchen knife could actually fly. At that moment, Li Changja could no longer stay calm. Wang Ling felt that there was a popular online phrase that was most suitable to describe Li Changja's performance at that moment. He couldn't hold it in any longer. It was believed that any boy who faced the same situation as Li Changja would feel the same horror in his heart. He hurriedly got up from the ground with a frightened look on his face. His face had turned purple, like a fish that had been stranded on the beach for a long time. Even the sound of his breathing became extremely rapid. Crack! The knife finally landed 1 centimeter in front of Li Changja's crotch. Sparrow was serious. If he hadn't woken up in time and dodged, this knife would have really turned Li Changja into a leftover old man. Are all girls so vicious nowadays? Li Changja, who was pretending to be asleep, felt a lingering fear in his heart. His cheeks were dripping with sweat as he cursed repeatedly in his heart. "Classmate Li, you're actually awake. I thought you'd never wake up again," Sparrow said in pleasant surprise as she wept excitedly, as if she was really concerned about Li Changja's injury. On the side, Wang Ling called her an expert when he saw her acting skills. Sparrow was too vicious. Although her appearance had changed drastically after what had just happened, Wang Ling was sure that this was Sparrow herself. She was still as black-bellied and strange as ever, which left people scratching their heads. "Haha. I just felt like I had a nightmare just now. And then I suddenly woke up with a start. But what's with this kitchen knife? I'm not sure." Li Changja laughed and rubbed the back of his head, the expression on his face extremely awkward. He was playing dumb. If he wasn't playing dumb, If he hadn't played dumb, then Taishi would have died. It's all right, classmate Lee, the kitchen knife was just an accident. I saw that you didn't wake up. I just wanted to do something for you. After saying that, Sparrow looked at Wang Ling with a smile. Right, classmate Wang Ling? Li Changzhe was shocked once again. This woman really knew how to lie without a draft. What kind of stew was that? However, he had no choice but to pretend that he didn't know about these things. Otherwise, he would have to admit that he was pretending to be asleep. Fortunately, Sparrow didn't get to the bottom of it. Her original mission was to wake Li Changzhe up, and now her mission had been successfully completed. Li Changzhe was not stupid. Seeing that Sparrow did not continue to ask, he instantly understood that Sparrow was deliberately giving him a way out. After all, the students who could come here were the cream of the crop of high school students in the world, and playing dead in front of them wasn't easy to fool. Furthermore, Li Changzhe never expected Wang Ling to actually have such a good relationship with foreign students. At first, he had been very hostile to number 60 high and looked down on Wang Ling. He felt that Wang Ling was just a legendary mascot who didn't deserve to compete on the same stage as this group of elite high school students. But from what he could see now, Wang Ling actually wasn't as bad as he had imagined. How did the saying go? Only substitute envoys can attract substitute envoys. In other words, only outstanding people can attract outstanding people. Since Wang Ling could be recognized by elite foreign high school students, he had to be outstanding in some way. Although Li Changzhe still didn't know how Wang Ling had entered the tea house, nor did he know what was so special about him. The only thing he could say for now was that Wang Ling was a genuine good person. He had carried him on his back all the way to the oasis, and after putting him down under the tree, he had been taking care of him. Every time Li Changzhe thought of this, he always felt a little ashamed. He had gauged the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. Let me introduce myself. I'm Six-Eyed Scarlet Heezy. With Sparrow's intervention, communication became much easier. Sparrow took the initiative to introduce herself and shake hands with Li Changzhe. Because the current situation was far more serious than they had imagined. Not only did they have to break through, they also had to think of a way to face an external threat. Furthermore, only Sparrow and Wang Ling knew about this threat. Wang Ling had seen it himself. Out of the corner of his king's eye, he had penetrated the surveillance cameras to verify his previous conjecture, and found out that the command post of Essence Search Yard was currently being hijacked. As for Sparrow, Wang Ming had sent her a message in code, which was a hacker's language that only Sparrow herself could understand. In other words, they were currently being monitored by criminals at the same time. Of course, Wang Ling wasn't completely clueless about this. Given Elder Tung's strength, there was no way he wouldn't be able to take care of those pieces of trash. So Wang Ling understood almost instantly. Elder Tung was testing him. Elder Tung was trying to test him. Big brother, you're finally awake. Seeing that Li Changzhe had woken up, Zhang Linyan hurried over with a few spirit energy cobblestones that she had just made. The problem of endurance had been solved for the time being. With the spirit energy cobblestones, they didn't need to replenish their spirit energy with those damn spirit fruits in the oasis. She and Li Changzhe had only exchanged a few words when the ground of the oasis suddenly shook slightly. It was not a big movement, but the people in the oasis with strong senses all felt at the same time that there were many powerful auras gathering from all directions and surrounding the oasis. What's going on? Someone was puzzled. Look! At that moment, Sparrow suddenly pointed at Chu Shuling and shouted. The bruise on the back of Chu Shuling's neck actually glowed with a bright light. A spirit energy mark? At the same time, everyone understood. The moment the spirit beast that had knocked Chu Shuling down had struck her, it had added its own spirit energy mark. It had accurately pinpointed Chu Shuling's position. And now, those spirit beasts were rioting, and following the trajectory of the spirit energy mark, they were heading in the direction of the oasis. What's going on? Why isn't this the same as what we discussed earlier? Zhang Linyan was a little puzzled. Somehow, she felt that the content of the test had changed fundamentally, but she couldn't pinpoint what the problem was. Wang Ling lowered his head in contemplation. Just as he was thinking of a solution, he suddenly heard Sparrow stand up and shout. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earthen dam. We can only think of a way to fight. Where are the gray sect disciples? We're here. We're here. We're here. In a split second, the high school cultivators from all over the world responded in unison in their own languages. This time, Wang Ling was completely stunned. It turned out that except for the 10th group from Huaxiao Nation who had just entered the spirit world, the remaining high school students were actually all Gray Sect members. And Sparrow, the deputy minister of Nine Paths and the Gray Sect branch, had shockingly become the temporary boss here. Chapter 1937. Almost immediately, Wang Ming and Jia Yin shared the news that Tung Luken was already suspecting Wang Ling. In fact, Wang Ming and Jia Yin had already rehearsed this earlier on in order to deal with how things would develop. Apart from his blood relatives, Jia Yin, Lotus Sun, Ajua Kamiya Ryoko, Zhou Ziyi Gushuanji, Qin Zong and Xiangyi currently knew Wang Ling's true strength. Most of the remaining core members of Battle Sect, such as grenade-throwing senior Immortal and Immortal Jin Yuan, were in fact still half-baked. Their instincts told them that Wang Ling wasn't just a 16-year-old teenager. Instead, it was a 10,000-year-old demon experiencing the daily life of a high school student. Fortunately, grenade-throwing senior Immortal was one of Wang Ling's few close friends in the cultivation world. Even if he was in a half-imaginative state, he would still tacitly cooperate with Ajua to cover for Wang Ling. His EQ was very high, and his temper was very much to Wang Ling's liking. This was also one of the main reasons why Wang Ling had helped Battle Sect rise back then. But it clearly wasn't appropriate for Tung Luken to be the first to inform a core member of Battle Sect who was in a half-imaginative state about Wang Ling. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary people. Now Lotus Sun was using the power of the Grey Church to cover for Wang Ling. At the same time, it might be necessary to achieve a two-pronged approach. In this situation, Ajua was needed to coordinate the work. Master, what's wrong? Why do you look so serious? At Battle Sect's training ground, Ajua was instructing Zhou Ziyi in his cultivation of the spirit sword. When he received Jia Yin's message, Zhou Ziyi saw Ajua's frown and hurriedly asked this question. There's a problem. Your grandmaster might be suspected by a senior. Ajua didn't hide anything and told Zhou Ziyi directly. Under his training, Zhou Ziyi's newly grown legs and body coordination had made great progress. He was no different from a normal person now. He had passed the test of walking, running, and jumping. Actually, I think it's already a miracle that Grandmaster hasn't been suspected until now. Zhou Ziyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Ajua. Who on earth is suspecting Grandmaster? A senior surname Tung. Everyone calls him Elder Tung. Is his name Tung Luken? You know him. He's the owner of the Nine Heavens Tea House. And he knows me. In fact, Elder Tung was a good person. He was quite concerned about the development of the young people in the cultivation world. When I broke my leg, he brought tea leaves to our house to visit me, Zhou Ziyi said. But you know your grandmaster's situation. He's very strong, yes. But not everyone likes to be shrouded in glory. Ajua sighed. Living quietly is also a kind of cultivation. I'm afraid you and I won't be able to comprehend this kind of spirit in a short time. Indeed. Zhou Ziyi nodded. He knew that he would never be able to reach Wang Ling's heights in his lifetime. But Zhou Ziyi also had his own cultivation path, which he realized was very similar to Ajua's. That was chivalrous, serving the country and the people. This was also the reason why he had worshipped Ajua and taken him as his master back then. Zhou Ziyi imagined that if he had great strength, he might take a completely different path from his grandmaster, Wang Ling. For example, taking responsibility for the common people and becoming the benchmark for all the cultivators in the world. As a benchmark, it was impossible for him to take the low-profile path of a reclusive cultivator. When that time came, all the glory of wealth and fame would follow. As the saying went, to wear the crown, one must bear its weight. Zhou Ziyi felt that this was the path he needed to explore in the future. How could he not forget his original intentions and maintain his true colors under these limitless halos? Although they walked different cultivation paths, Zhou Ziyi didn't think that he, Ajua, and Wang Ling were enemies. The essence of the world was that light and shadow went hand in hand. Some people wanted to be the shadow, and some people wanted to be the light. Where there was light, there was shadow. No one could leave the other. Elder Ting is very strong. It won't be easy to fool him. Of course, I don't have much contact with Elder Ting. It's just a hunch. Shifu, you have to handle this carefully. After thinking for a while, Zhou Zi said, I can handle the training on my own. Grandmaster is in trouble now, so you should go and solve his problem first. Your Shermu is already helping out in secret on the inside. But the outside still needs to be resolved, Ajwa said. Ajwa said, the command center of Nine Heavens Essence Courtyard has been hijacked by a group of villains, and Elder Tung is currently being held hostage to manipulate the system. This has caused the test field to deviate from the original script, and they've dispatched even more powerful spirit beasts to attack the high school students taking the test. Hijacked? Zhou asked curiously. No way. Elder Tung should be very strong. Can they beat him? Very quickly his eyes lit up, and he said without waiting for Ajwa's reply, Oh, I get it. Elder Tung is doing this on purpose. He wants to see Grandmaster's reaction. That's why he arranged this. It could only be said that Zhou Zi was Zhou Zi in the end. He was indeed extremely smart and had figured it out with just one hint. Ajwa was very satisfied with this analysis. Go on. If I had to solve this outside problem, what would you do if it were you? Since Elder Tung is deliberately not doing anything to test Grandmaster, then we'll force him to do it. Not only do we have to force him to do it, we also have to send people to save him. Zhou Zi smiled. Elder Tung's identity isn't simple. It's reasonable for us to send people to save him. Furthermore, Elder Tung is in Songhai City, right? Isn't that within the scope of Battle Sect's authority? I remember that Huaxiao Alliance originally signed a very long security outsourcing agreement with Battle Sect. Hahaha, you're too smart, Z. We're thinking the same thing. As he listened, Ajwa couldn't help laughing. We'll continue with the training later. I'll send Senior Immortal a message first. Tell him to take action immediately. Also, he must be on the highest level of alert. This will show how much importance Battle Sect takes this matter. Roughly 10 minutes later, at Battle Sect's headquarters in Songhai City, in Zhengyang Square in front of True Venerated Hall, the primordial horn, which the sect had set up on hundreds of mountain peaks, sounded like the deep cry of a primordial divine beast. In a short period of time, each peak had dispatched a total of 6,000 Battle Sect disciples at or above the Golden Core stage to assemble in the square. 200 elders at or above the nascent soul stage were standing on magic artifacts in formation in the air above the square. This was Battle Sect's first rapid response force after entering Level 1 alert. Battle Sect had already practiced this several times before, but no one expected them to actually be put to use so quickly. It's the sound of the primordial horn. The elders want us to return to the sect quickly. Captain, what do we do now? At that moment, the sect disciples who were carrying out sect missions in Songhai City all raised their heads the moment they heard the primordial horn. Listen to my orders, unless you're on a mission to keep an eye on someone. Everyone else who can return to the sect, follow me back to the sect immediately. There's going to be a tough battle. Chapter 1938. In the early hours of Wednesday, January 15th, this world-renowned city that never sleeps, Songhai City's brightly lit streets were accompanied by the deep sound of Hongming's horn, adding to the hustle and bustle of the brilliant night. This was the first time since the Golden Foundation's sneak attack on Battle Sect that Battle Sect's disciples were carrying out a large-scale battle plan under the guidance of the official command center. Apart from those who were on essential missions, all the Battle Sect disciples wearing light blue Battle Sect uniforms immediately took out their spirit swords in unison the moment they heard the order. Stepping on their spirit swords, they flew through the city on their swords as they started to return to the sect. Their movements were uniform as they underwent the most rigorous training under Battle Sect's unified guidance. Although Battle Sect hadn't been around for a long time, all its disciples had a sense of collective honor for the sect at all times, which was something that many other modern sects couldn't achieve. Woo! The Hongmeng roar sounded a total of 12 times. When the sound of the Hongmeng roar fell to the ground, the Battle Sect disciples on the Zhengyang Plaza had already neatly formed dozens of square formations. They had gathered from their respective peaks, and some had turned back from the city. The moment they heard Hongmeng, they all assembled, each with a spirit sword on their back and a medicinal gourd at their waists as they waited solemnly. The first batch of rapid response troops has been assembled. Great Elder, please give us your instructions. A head peak elder turned to Feng Xing and asked for instructions. The moment Feng Xing appeared, many of the battle sect disciples below felt like their eyes were playing tricks on them, because it was an incomparably young face with a gorgeous face that made many people's hearts ripple. Feng Xing had to appear in the sect in his female form because this would hide his identity as a student in his male form. There were many eyes in the sect, and if he faced them in his male form, it might cause unnecessary trouble. Many of the disciples at the bottom of the mountain hardly ever saw the identities of the sect's founding elders when they cultivated on a daily basis. Feng Xing was one of them, and since he had to study at number 60 high school, it was even more rare for them to see him. This time, he appeared in his female form in a long, snow-white dress, and his graceful figure deeply shocked everyone present. Some of the disciples whispered to each other below, "What's this great elder's name? Why haven't I seen him before? Don't look up for too long. It's too rude." This is the legendary elder Feng Xing. So it's her, the founding great elder with no profile picture on BattleSect's website. Yes. She's been here since the founding of the sect. BattleSect's founding great elders can't compare to ordinary peak elders. Even seniors who were later promoted to great elder have to be reverent to the founding great elders. At this point, the surrounding disciples all lowered their heads when they heard this. Everyone's faces were filled with respect and excitement. This was the founding great elder of the sect's founding great elders. How honorable his status was. It was rumored that all of them were existences who usually chatted and laughed with grenade-throwing sect leader. At this moment, sect's battle sect had been battle, and in sect was by the sect. This proved that the battle sect's internal management system was very strict, and the management levels were very clear. Under the situation where the disciples at the bottom couldn't see the great elder at the top, it was indeed very easy for them to be able to see it at the juncture of a group battle. Sect's SS battle. S's battle sect. S. Feng Xing waited for a moment, until everyone had quieted down before she opened her mouth. In her female form, her voice was cold, beautiful, and dignified. I believe some of you have already heard that our target this time is Songhai City's Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute. Everyone knows that Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute is an official organization that specializes in gathering outstanding young cultivators from all over the country. As the saying goes, the country is strong when the young are strong. The Essence Search Institute's role is to gather young cultivation geniuses and nurture them, so that they can be included in the system in the future to win glory for the country, and become the mainstay of our Huaxiao nation. It can be said that Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute is a pillar of support for the rise of young people. And now, according to reliable information, a group of criminals has invaded Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute right under our noses. They have extraordinary strength, and a lot of people. Everyone from Battle Sect, I want to ask, what are you going to do? The disciples in the square looked at each other in dismay for a while. Then someone shouted, "Of course! I can't live under the same sky as evil." As soon as his voice fell, the surrounding disciples clenched their fists and shouted in unison. One after another, the crowd was stirred up. "I can't live under the same sky as evil. I can't live under the same sky as evil." Feng Xing nodded in satisfaction, then waved his hand abruptly. "On my command, let's go." At the same time, in Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute, Tung Luken still didn't know what was going to happen. He stared at the screen with great interest as he quietly studied Wang Ling's face. He wanted to see how Wang Ling would perform when surrounded by spirit beasts. This group of criminals' sudden attack had actually done him a huge favor, giving him the opportunity to properly test Wang Ling's true strength. Now that he was about to succeed, Tung Luken was full of excitement. After all, this matter hadn't alarmed the police at the moment, and no one knew that Nine Heavens Essence Search Institute was currently being held hostage. As long as he could confirm Wang Ling's strength, he would immediately counterattack and suppress this group of criminals. This little guy is really good at hiding things. He believed that his eyes weren't wrong. Wang Ling was definitely the peerless genius he had been looking for all this time. At that moment, the oasis was already surrounded by a large number of high-grade spirit beasts. Because the criminals had requested that the sound be turned off, Tung Luken couldn't hear the situation inside the oasis for the time being. But at the same time, he noticed that at Six-Eyed Red Heezy's call, almost all the elite high school students had been mobilized. This was also a rare piece of information. It seemed that this Six-Eyed Red Heezy had been hiding all this time, and hadn't had this kind of rallying power at all. And the change in rallying power from before to now was also due to Wang Ling's arrival. Tung Luken felt that this was even more proof of his theory. Because at the same time, he had also noticed that this Six-Eyed Red Heezy had a brief exchange with Wang Ling. In other words, perhaps the real mastermind behind the scenes was Wang Ling. It was possible that Six-Eyed Red Heezy was just passing on orders. Come on, classmate Wang Ling. Tung Luchen's face was calm as he said this in his heart. His mind was filled with thoughts as he constantly tried to figure out everything about Wang Ling. Just as he was staring intently at the screen, all of a sudden, the alarm in Nine Heaven's Essence Academy rang. None of the alarms had been set off when the criminals had invaded earlier, but at this important moment, they sounded like a symphony. At that moment, Nine Heaven's Essence Academy was already surrounded by all the Battle Sect disciples. The whole building had been sealed off by the Battle Sect disciples. Not a single person could escape from the building. What's going on? The criminal leader who was holding Tung Luken back with the golden wind was also startled. He still hadn't figured out what was going on. Behind him, there was suddenly a loud boom from the command room's door. Immediately after that, dozens of Battle Sect disciples directly rushed in. And the person leading the charge was Fangxing in her female form. Each and every one of them raised their spirit swords as if they had been injected with chicken blood and shouted excitedly, "Control the criminals! Save Elder Tung! Kill! I can't live under the same sky as evil!" Tung Luken. Chapter 1939. Tung Luken had never expected a large number of Battle Sect disciples to pour into the command post. Not only that, the power supply to the command post had also been cut off. The moment the Battle Sect disciples had poured in, all the electronic equipment on the scene, including the surveillance cameras, had been instantly shut down, and the place was plunged into darkness. Behave yourself. Don't resist. These Battle Sect disciples were all elites. They had clearly come prepared, and had used their contact lenses with night vision to accurately rescue every researcher on the scene. It had been less than a minute since the power had been cut off, and the backup power had been turned on. When the lights in the command post came back on, Fangxing had already knocked out the criminal leader with the golden wind. Peak rank 9 true immortal. Tung Luken frowned. He had never seen Fangxing in female form, but from his clothes, he could already tell that he was an elder of Battle Sect. At this realm, he was probably a great elder. He realized that he had underestimated Battle Sect's intelligence-gathering ability, and felt that he had done it flawlessly. He had originally planned to sound Wang Ling out, but this time, it just so happened that these blind criminals had attacked, and he had taken advantage of the situation to carry out his plan. For this reason, Tung Luken had been very careful during the hijacking, and at the same time, he had completely blocked out the news. Logically speaking, even the police didn't know that the Ninth Heaven Command Post had been hijacked. But Battle Sect had received the news in advance and had sent people here. This made Tung Luken feel that the situation had suddenly become very unusual. "Greetings, Senior Tung. We have come on the sect leader's orders. I am Battle Sect's great elder. You can call me Little Fang, Elder Tung." Fangxing bowed politely with his hands in front of him, and no one could find anything wrong with his smile. Tung Luken was a little annoyed because Battle Sect's intervention had actually ruined his plan, but in this situation, he could only suffer in silence. After a long while he finally cleared his throat and said, "It's fine, Little Fang, you've worked hard. Elder Tung, I've already checked. This golden wind is fake." After saying that, Fangxing handed the pistol to Tung Luken with both hands. "Elder Tung, you're still working so hard at this late hour. You might be tired, so please get some rest." Although cultivators can go without sleep, Elder Tung is the pillar of the sect, so you should take care of your body. Tung Tianyuan's mouth twitched when he heard this. He could roughly tell that this Elder Fong from the battle sect was obviously implying something. How could a pillar of support like him not be able to tell that the golden wind was fake? Since they could tell that it was fake, they pretended to be held hostage. Wasn't it obvious that they had other motives? Tung Luken felt a bit sullen. He looked at the pitch-black screen behind him and sighed in his heart. When he reopened the screen, he found that the battle in the spirit realm had already ended. After Wang Ming received Battle Sect's order to go and rescue them, he immediately adjusted the code and used the spirit world system to transport away the high-level spirit beasts that had been transferred from the other maps. In other words, it would not be strange if any of the elite high school students killed the remaining spirit beasts. What a pity. Just a little more, and he might have been able to see Wang Ling make a move with his own eyes. However, although the power of the surveillance equipment had been cut off, the spirit world system was still operating normally. In other words, during the black screen just now, the internal monitor was still operating. Tung Luken felt that there might be some new information about Wang Ling in there. He would have to think of a way to retrieve this information later. Even if the image hadn't been preserved, there would at least be a recording. He had been suspicious of Wang Ling for a long time, and wouldn't give up on investigating him so easily. Furthermore, given the current situation, Tung Luken even suspected that Battle Sect's sudden operation to break out of the command post and rescue them might very well be a cover-up. It might even be to cover up Wang Ling's actions. All of this was too much of a coincidence, as if it had been planned, which made Tung Luken very suspicious. After thinking for a bit, Tung Luken pretended to be unperturbed on the surface. He waved his hand to summon a staff member, who put the golden wind into a plastic envelope. I'll leave this toy in your care for the time being. Very well, Elder Tung. The staff member nodded. Have you called the police? Tung Luken asked. The staff member glanced at Fong Xing. The police cars arrived at the same time Elder Fong broke out of the encirclement. The outside of the command post is now completely surrounded. Hearing this, Tung Luken was silent for a moment. He could only scratch his head and silently say forget it in his heart before he left the command post. It wasn't convenient for him to directly explain the surveillance footage here. Tung Luken already suspected that there was a mole in the command center, who was passing on information, due to Battle Sect's sudden operation just now. He already didn't trust anyone. It was safest to hand over the surveillance footage and audio recordings to Jing Huqiu, who would then hand them over to him. There were really too many suspicious points. Tung Luken thought it was funny. When he reached the main entrance of the command post, he suddenly saw a familiar figure. It was Audiobook, who was being interviewed by the media and under the frenzied flashes of countless cameras. He had almost forgotten. Audiobook also had an actual connection to Battle Sect. In essence, he was Battle Sect's founding Great Elder, but it was just a title of honor, and had no real connection to his actual position. He remembered that Audiobook had been sent by Huaxiu Alliance to inspect and supervise Battle Sect, which was perfectly justifiable. Furthermore, Battle Sect itself was under Huaxiu Alliance's jurisdiction. Although Battle Sect had foiled his plan this time, Tung Luken realized that he really couldn't blame it on Battle Sect. After all, the gangsters had taken over Nine Heavens Essence Courtyard's command post, which was a very serious matter. Furthermore, Battle Sect had previously signed an official city security agreement with Huaxiu Alliance. This was actually a very common move everywhere, and was mainly to share the burden of the cultivation police system. However, sects that could sign this kind of agreement had to be at least sky level. Before the interview was over, Audiobook saw Tung Luken, and he hurriedly had the deputy director take over the interview as he jogged over. Greetings, old Tung. He bowed to Tung Luken and said respectfully, I heard that this group of gangsters were very fierce. Looking at old Tung, this junior can rest assured that you weren't injured. Hey, you're well informed. Tung Luken laughed dryly. I'll say this up front. Even if you're unaccountably solicitous, this old man won't be able to help much with the election of the new leader of the Alliance of 10,000 Schools. The position of leader depends on one's own ability. This junior can't thank old Ting enough for your concern, Ajwa said with a smile. Tung Luken sighed, and could only leave with a flick of his sleeves. He frowned deeply. Suspicious. Everything was too suspicious. Chapter 1940. Ajwa had been covering for so long, but this was the first time he felt a sense of crisis. He felt that Tung Luken was very dangerous, more dangerous than anyone he had met before. Not only that, he even felt that he might have exposed himself in trying to save Wang Ling this time. This elder Tung wasn't someone who would be so easily fooled. Ajwa sighed emotionally in his heart. After Elder Tung left, he immediately entered BattleSec's core group chat to report on his work. Elder Tung has already left, but my intuition tells me that he won't give up on investigating Shifu so easily. Lotus Sun was especially concerned about this matter, and replied almost immediately. I asked Grandpa just now, but he doesn't know much about Elder Tung. What we can confirm, however, is that Elder Tung's relationship with Lord Yuan Venerate isn't ordinary. After all, he's someone from that era, so it's very normal. Grenade-throwing senior immortal said. Everyone continue to be vigilant. If Brother Ling isn't careful this time, I'm afraid he'll be exposed. Lotus Sun. Of course, I'll think of a way to keep this matter under wraps later. By the way, I have to thank classmate Fang Xing this time, for all, Fang Xing. Don't mention it, it's all part of my job. Wang Ling's business is also my business. At this point, although the atmosphere in the group seemed harmonious on the surface, everyone was sweating profusely in private. Although they had barely managed to deal with BattleSec's sudden operation this time, it was just as Ajwa had thought. It was precisely because their operation this time had been too abrupt that Elder Tung thought it was a way to cover up their tracks. By the time Tung Luken returned to Nine Heavens Tea House, Jing Huchio had already used the creation spell and the star-shifting array to repair the damaged area. Nine Heavens Tea House was an important location, and usually had a backup of the same building materials, so when it was damaged, it could be easily repaired using magic. At that moment, the tea house's door was tightly shut. Jing Huchio bowed to Tung Luken, who didn't look too good. Elder Tung, because of an accident in the first batch of students who didn't take the test, follow-up tests have already been arranged. The students who have already entered the spirit world have also successfully passed the internal test and returned. However, looking at Old Ting's expression, it seems like he hasn't found the answer he wants. Tung Luken sat on a wooden bench with his eyebrows tightly furrowed. After thinking for a long time, he looked at Jing Huchio and slowly said, What do you think about the BattleSec's sudden arrival? I always feel that it's very sudden. It feels like he's hiding something, Jing Huchio answered honestly. Hearing this, Tung Luken suddenly laughed. Not bad, you've improved a bit. The BattleSec's actions this time have exposed the truth that they are trying to hide. However, as for what they are trying to hide, this old man still lacks evidence. So, Elder Tung is still suspecting Student Wang. What do you think? I think he's nothing special. There's nothing special about him. Even my entry into the spiritual realm this time was thanks to Li Changjia. Did you see it clearly? Did he stick himself onto Li Changjia's body and get in? I saw it clearly. There's no mistaking it. Jing Huchio said. Furthermore, Elder Tung, don't you think that for the BattleSec to carry out such a large-scale operation to protect a high school student, isn't it a bit too unrealistic? You're right. That's the logic of a normal person. Tung Luken smiled and paused. He originally wanted to say, but sometimes things aren't what they seem. But in the end, he couldn't open his mouth. However, Tung Luken still firmly believed that his judgment was correct. Wang Ling was the young man he had been looking for all this time. It was just that right now he still lacked crucial evidence. This internal test in the spirit realm was actually a double-edged sword. On the way back to the Nine Heavens Tea House, Tung Luken had already come up with a counter-analysis hypothesis. If BattleSec's operation this time really was to provide cover for Wang Ling, in that case, BattleSec definitely already knew that all of his plans were aimed at Wang Ling. In other words, the WarSec's actions this time seemed to have alerted the enemy, but they were too rash. At the same time, his actions were also exposed in broad daylight during this test. But Tung Luken wasn't flustered at all, because exposing his true intentions through this internal test in the spirit realm was also within his calculations. Have you obtained the recording of the internal test in the spirit realm? Not yet, but I've already secured the data inside the server. I'll personally copy and transfer it later to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Well done. Tung Luken nodded. Remember, you can only report this directly to me. You don't need to go through anyone else. Understood? Yes, Elder Tung. Jing Huchyo nodded. It's just that there's something I don't understand, and I don't know if I should say it. Tung Luken. You want to ask me why I'm so obsessed with this Wang Ling? Jing Huchyo nodded. Yes. He really didn't understand. Given Tung Luchen's status, why would he waste so much precious time on such an ordinary high school student? What was more, Jing Huchyo felt that he had some ability to identify talents. His realm wasn't low, and after following Tung Luken for so many years, he had seen a lot of geniuses of all shapes and sizes. But he was sure that Wang Ling definitely wasn't the person he or Tung Luken were looking for. A cultivator who only knew how to consume puffy food wasn't good for cultivation at all. I still need some time to verify this question. When the time is right, this old man will naturally tell you. Tung Luken kept Jing Huchyo guessing as he said, In all these years, I've never been wrong. I hope so. Jing Huchyo said. Before Tung Luken left Nine Heavens Tea House, he was still skeptical. And after sending Jing Huchyo off, Tung Luken also started on the next step of his plan. Earlier, he had guessed that this spirit realm test would be a double-edged sword, exposing both sides. And his intention to deliberately expose himself to test Wang Ling was also part of the plan. This definitely wasn't something Tung Luken had said casually. As soon as Jing Huchyo left, Tung Luken walked up to the tea shelves in the tea house. The shelves were filled with small pots of fragrant tea, all of which had been carefully selected works by great masters. He touched one of the hexagonal ceramic teapots and changed the angle of the teapot. Then, there was the sudden hum of a mechanism being activated on the tea shelves. Behind the teapots, a wall covered with photos and stickers appeared. This was all the information that Tung Luken had collected over the years. Each and every one of them was closely related to Wang Ling. At that moment, Tung Luken personally added the latest piece of information to the wall. Battle sex suspects that I am testing Wang Ling, if I lose my memory in the future. That means that all the suspicions recorded on this wall are correct answers. This note was written by Tung Luken on January 15, 4397, 3:48 in the morning. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.